Hello, this is David Cherry. The next video I'm going to do, the last one I did was on doing how to read a directory and print the directory out as HTML links. And what I want to show you now is how to read a directory recursively and print out the files as HTML links. Okay. Now, in order to do this, there's several things we have to do. We have to change the system path into a web URL path, or a path that you would use on the internet. Okay, and I'll show you about that later on. But let's go on through this right here. Okay, and because we're doing this from the standpoint of printing it out as an HTML document rather than the command line. All right, you'll definitely need to have this right here, okay, in order to execute it within your CGI bin. All right, and then you want to have print the content type text as HTML. That is a necessity. Without that, it will not print. So you definitely need these two lines right here, okay. The primary code that does all the work is right here. All right, going all the way down, and everything has to be exact. If you do not do it exact, you're going to mess up. Okay, now let me point out something right here. This here is a comment, so this line is not being used in the code, but it's there for later reference. Okay, and the reason I have that is because of the what we're doing is we're getting the current directory. Now the method by which I'm getting the current directory is using the operating system get codw method right here. Okay, some people call it a function. All right, but anyway, this is the code here. All right, to get the current directory that we're using, and you can see it in this line right here. Okay, now in Python, when you're working with the operating system module, this line right here is extremely important. Okay, and we also have to know also that I'm using the walk method, the operating system dot walk. That's what you see right here, because we're walking through the directory. Okay, so that's what this is about right here. Okay, so your root is where you're starting at, or what you make your root. Okay, for your system. All right, and so our root here in this case is being defined by this right here, okay. So anyway, what we're looking at, we are not interested in printing directories, so that's why I have this right here. Otherwise you have dirs there. All right, then we have files. Okay, so this line has to be exact for it to work. Okay, and then what we're doing is we're using a for loop, okay, to print out the files, and the for loop begins right here on this line right here. So for each file name in files, okay, all right, so this variable here could be changed to any name you want. You could put X, Y, Z, whatever, but to make it more clear, I leave it as for file name in files, okay. And so we have to use for file name in files, and the reason we have to use files is because, see, files is up here. You see that? Okay, this right here is up here. All right, so for each file name in files, because we're interested in the files, okay. All right, and then I have an if condition here. Okay, this is an if condition, and what this if condition does is allow me to restrict the type of file names that will be printed out rather than getting all the file names. I only want files that have the extension py within the CGI bin. Okay. And so, and the reason that is unless you configure your server correctly, some files will not work in the CGI bin. Okay, so being that we're working with Python, I'm just going to do Python. If your figure's not configured, to use like text files and HTML files, they will not work within the CGI bin, and you have to do some special configuring, and I have to even figure that out, how to do that again. So currently my CGI bin will only accept Perl and Python files. Okay, all right, but anyway, so for each file name that ends with py, okay, and this here operating system dot path dot join dot root. All right, because that's where you're starting out from. All right, that is necessary because it allows us to create a path as it recurses through the directory. So that has to be there. Okay. All right. And so we join it. Okay. And then operating system dot path dot absolute has to be there as well. Okay. And if you notice, I got relative path here and relative path here. Okay. So what we're doing is we're taking the path and we're making it into basically a long string. Basically is to explain what we're doing here. Okay. Now, here's the part we're going to convert. Okay, is right here. This is where the conversion begins, where we convert the system path to the a web URL path that we can use. Okay, and this is code that will be used basically on the server itself if you host your own website and you have your own web server. Okay, this is where this code is important. Okay, so what we have to do is convert the on Windows the backslashes to forward slashes, and this is what this is for right here, this line right here. So here we're converting the backslashes with the forward slashes. Okay, and rather than using one slash here, okay, this is what we're going to need to replace. All right, because this character here, this has to be escaped. Okay, and that's what the second character here is for, is to escape it. All right, and then we're going to replace it with a forward slash. Then the next step, okay, is to replace the path of the server. Okay, in other words, like I say, like it could be cxamp 0, cxamp 1, wherever you put it. Okay, and you want to replace where xamp is replaced up to that point where it ends with xamp, whatever you have. Okay, and you want to replace it with the internet URL for the domain name. Okay, whether it's HTTP or HTTPS, and here it's going to be HTTPS. Okay, because that makes it secure. All right, if you have a secure server and SSL and all that stuff. All right, and so you want to replace it with the domain name. Okay, and only the domain name. Okay. All right, then you're going to create your link. So this is the code that creates the link right here. Okay, so once you have this, if you notice, I have the absolute path here, okay, renamed as absolute path 2, and I put it here and here. And all this has to be copied exactly correctly if you want to do it. Okay, then we print out the anchor. Okay, and when we're printing out the anchor, okay, if you notice here, I'm printing out a variable right here. Okay, and then I use a concatenation operator right here. All right, and then plus break sign. All right. Now there are different times when you're printing out certain variables, and that type of concatenation will not work. And if it doesn't work, all you have to do is put a comma and then do it that way. Okay, but it depends on the number of variables, So when you play around with it, you'll begin to learn that. Okay, and so anyway, this is the code here. Okay, on how to, as I said, recursively. Read current directory recursively, print file names as HTML links. Okay, that's the code. Okay, now let me see if I can get it up to show you how it will work. Okay, this is the example of the actual code in operation, and each one of these links work. Okay, so let me go back to another one. Okay, now this is a file where I showed you how to index a directory. So this is an index of all the files in the current directory, which I have a video, that I did earlier, and I put up. Okay, and it shows you how to index a directory and get the files in the current working directory, but it doesn't do it recursively. Okay, and so this is the file that I'm interested in right here, where it says read current directory recursive print file paths as HTML links. So this is how it looks. See right there? All right, and each one of these links work. Okay. Like if I go here, wait for it to go to that link. See there, that link works. And what this is, a little bitty program is print only HTML files, links in present current directory. And so basically what I was doing, I'm testing path names, but that's another thing I may do later and show you. But anyway, so the code is on how to currently read your directory. Okay, let me see if I can figure out how to bring it down. Okay, there we go. So this is the code right here that you need. And so I hope you like it. I hope it's useful to you. Maybe I'll show you how to install a web server one day, and where you can start learning some of this stuff. And if you already have it, well, if you're learning Python, well, this is your key right here on how to read your current directory that you're in, and convert your file path names on Windows to an actual usable internet anchor link, or anchor or link, however you want to call it. I thank you. If you like it, give me a thumbs up, and I hope you enjoy it, and you have a good day.